I'm a pastor, and however you got here, you are welcome. Today's parable, as we continue diving in to this idea of soil and soul through the lens of Jesus's parables, today's parable is unique to Matthew's gospel. And I always think when something's unique to a particular gospel, it bears well to think deeper about why is this important for this gospel writer, and what might that speak into our life. This parable is located in a sequence of parables that Matthew is telling of Jesus speaking to a crowd. And I love that, like, in this line of parables, and in so many times when we start a parable, not just about gardening, but any of Jesus's parables, oftentimes Jesus starts it with the kingdom of heaven is like, and then what immediately follows is some kind of mishap, tragedy, or just kind of generalized chaos. So is heaven like that? No, because we have to reach the end of the parable, right? When what we're trying to get at, where Jesus is trying to lead us to, what heaven is actually like, is revealed to us. And why I think I lift this up is because sometimes we can get in a mindset that heaven is about just then and there. Like, it's about after we die, it's what's in the next life. It's completely mystery to us. But when we do that, we cheapen what Jesus tells us over and over again. And I want to live a rich life. I don't know about you, but like, I actually enjoy the life I have. It's not perfect. And obviously, like, I'm preaching to myself. I'm doing the study alongside of you because I need to find more space and capacity to slow down and create space in my life to push against hurry and stress, right? And anxiety, all of these things. So when I read Jesus's words about the kingdom of heaven is like, and I hear about the chaos, tragedy, mishaps that happen, I hear inklings and reminiscings of my own life or the lives of people that I know and love dearly. And then I hear about how heaven, a taste of it, can be mine or can be theirs or ours right now. It's the listening to Jesus when he says the kingdom of heaven is at hand, which means, like, literally it's right now, it's right here. Because of Jesus, heaven isn't just then and there. It still is, and we should be excited about that. But I get way more excited about the fact that because of Jesus, by his very incarnational being, like that, coming down to be with us, that he gave us the power to unleash heaven around us. Because how many times do you see people walking in hell? And what a gift it is to offer heaven to that person, because we have the power to do that. And Jesus teaches us that over and over again, of what those tastes of heaven, what that in Celtic theology they'd call pushing through the veil to touch the other side of heaven, looks like right now. Okay, I got really excited, and we're actually going to dive into the parable now. So hear now the parable from Matthew chapter 13, beginning in verse 24, and it goes like this. Jesus told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like someone who planted good seed in his field. While people were sleeping, an enemy came and planted weeds among the wheat and went away. When the stalks sprouted and bore grain, then the weeds also appeared. The servants of the landowner came and said to him, "Master, didn't you plant good seed in your field? Then how is it that it has weeds." "An enemy has done this," he answered. The servant said to him, "Do you want us to go and gather then?" But the landowner said, "No, because you gather the weeds, you'll pull up the wheat along with them. Let both grow side by side until the harvest. And at the harvest time, I'll say to the harvesters, first gather the weeds, tie them together in bundles to be burned, but bring the wheat into my barn." One of the things I love about Bible study in particular is that we can be studying the Bible our entire lives and still uncover new things. We can learn more. And even as someone who is a nerd, who is claiming her life to be someone who does this as part of my work, but I also try to make sure it's part of my own personal rhythms as well. I get amazed when I overturn something new in a passage that I've heard time and time before. So I'm grateful for someone I get to work alongside. His name is Bill. He's also a pastor who I got to hear preach on this parable. And he showed these images. And what he told us about is that these are what are being talked about in this parable. It's the wheat grain and the bearded darnel, which is a weed. And if you look at them, they're pretty dang similar when they're young. So yeah, if you go through and try and sort these while they're young, you are going to lose so much good wheat, right? You're going to lose so much good fruit harvest, right, from this field. And I have done the work of like weeding in a garden bed before. And you know what? It's also hard to do it when it's obvious what is the good and what is the weed. Because you can accidentally get roots tangled together. You can accidentally pull up the wrong thing. And so I love the wisdom of the owner in this to say, no, this is a terrible thing, but we're going to wait it out. And I think part of the wisdom that's offered here is, right, in the similarities that we see. If we try and judge, if we try to go through to be the workers to judge which is wheat and which is bearded darnel, how many times are we going to get it wrong? Or even how many times are we going to get it wrong and also damage the good fruit as well? And I think we see this a lot right now when people experience church trauma, when people need to go back and look at their faith and do the work of deconstruction, which I think is holy sacred work that we see scriptural examples for, but that's for another study, another time. Because part of our work should constantly be going to go back to God and refine and figure out what is of God and what is of me and what needs to be set aside so that I can draw closer to God, right? This should be a process of our whole lives. But when we want to control that, when the church wants to control that, or persons in authority in church want to control that and tell people how you can or can't engage in your faith in these deep ways, then how many times do we throw out good wheat instead of the bearded darnel? It's not our job to judge. Because here's what the owner knows, right? Because the owner, yes, title is owner in this, but the owners in these stories, they own these fields, they own this property. They might not be the ones having to work it as closely, but they still know something of gardening and farming. And so when it comes time for harvest, this is what wheat looks like. You've probably seen it before. And this is what a bearded darnel looks like. The bearded darnel is straight and it is black and it will not bend. Whereas wheat is golden and soft, and when it's ready for harvest, its head grows so heavy with good fruit that it bows its head. I think there's something so beautiful, and it becomes so stark and so clear what is good and what is weed. The state of our hearts will always be revealed. But as the workers, it's not our job to be concerned about the state of another's heart, because we don't know. And I don't know about you, but I've gotten to work alongside of people that if I was judging, I would have judged them to be bearded darnels. And some of them are now colleagues of mine in ministry. And other times there are people that I have judged to be like, you are good wheat, we should follow you. You are a leader, and they've done things to show that maybe they're a bearded darnel. But again, it's not my job to worry about that. It's my job to keep going. It's our job to let the harvest grow and to care well for all that are present in the field, and worry about the sorting at harvest time in the hands of the owner. So as we come to this parable, there's such a beauty of who we're called to be as workers and who we're called to be as the ones growing. I love that in this, we see this template for permission of growth, permission to just love people well. Now, a caveat to this is that this is not an excuse for people to break boundaries or to create cycles of abuse, right? That isn't what we're called to be about, to let people walk over us as Christians. We can set good boundaries, healthy boundaries. We can set, we can not engage in relationships that will be harmful to us. But in the meantime, for the rest of all present, we don't have to get worried or caught up in the state of others' hearts. We can just love people, and we can work on the state of our own hearts. We can work on the state of how we are growing into a good harvest. And I think sometimes we need that. And so I want to add this one little piece on this note. If you are someone who's watching this video and you have ever experienced some kind of church harm, church trauma, you've had to leave a church you've loved, for any kind of reason, you've had to take a step away or back from church, but you so desperately want to hold on to faith, and perhaps there's a hope for one day being restored to a church community. I want to say, as someone who's been given authority in the church, right, someone who wears the title pastor, that I am so sorry that happened to you. I know that that's not enough, and I hope there are others in your life that can come alongside of you in your work of healing, in your work of deconstructing and reconstructing faith. I pray that your own heart finds healing and finds goodness in our God who loves us and doesn't want the workers to be caught up in who is this or that. And I know that's not enough, but it's what I can offer to you on this platform. And so I want to offer that. Okay, so on to lessons of soil and soul. Focus on loving people. Don't get caught up in the rest. Look this week, look for an opportunity to see where the potential of heaven is right here. And ask through prayer or meditation or the actual action, ask Christ how you as a disciple can bring about heaven right here. Just a taste, a moment of it. And lastly, I love the image of the bowed head of wheat at the time of harvest. When I think about those bowed heads, I think about saints and sages that I've encountered in my own life that seem to just have this absolute humility. There's almost the sense that they do walk around with a bowed head, but yet they can offer me in one sentence what it takes me 15 to 20 minutes to communicate to you through a Bible study. They can offer such power and transformation in just a few words that my soul didn't even know it needed. And so I wonder if you would take a look around your own life and ponder who are the saints and sages with bowed heads ready for harvest. Thanks for joining me today. If you have found value in these Bible studies, please do me a favor. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and if you know someone who needs to hear an apology from a pastor in this format, or needs to hear of the power of being able to just love people, would you share this video with them? And as you go this week, may you know that Christ is in the soil of your soul.